Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home.
Today we are going to replace the wick one more time in this vintage Thorens double claw semi-automatic petrol lighter. We have had a wire lead IMCO wick in this lighter when we first got it back up and running. We have had a wick in it from the eBay seller David 2052, and both of those wicks seem to function about the same. Make this lighter a 1 out of every 3 proposition. Well, then it's going to make a liar out of me. This mechanism seems to be much more reliable without it residing in its base than it does while it is in that piece of marble stone. So there's one. There's 1 out of every 3. And now not even 1 out of every 3. So I don't know if it might have something to do with the angle. It does seem like it wants to light a little bit more reliably every now and then. So we are going to pull out the wick, which I believe was supposed to be for this exact lighter. The wick that we have in there right now from the eBay seller David 2052. And we are going to install a Zippo copper woven wick, courtesy of our buddy Gavin Lannon. Got that stretched out here all nice and straight, and we're going to try to twist that right down through the wick chimney of this Thorens semi-automatic lighter. First of all, we're going to need to remove the wadding so that we can fish the new wick out of there and get the new wick installed in the first place. So we will just start with pulling this organic cotton out of the base of this lighter. And right here you can see why, if you can keep it in solid strands, why that is much easier to get out than it is if it's all loose pieces. Trying to get a little bit too much of it up out of there at one time. Still got wadding down in there. So wadding doesn't really even feel like it is moist or wet at all, and yet there's enough fuel in there that it was igniting the lighter. I don't know that it is absolutely necessary to pull out all the wadding in a table lighter insert like this, but it doesn't really matter whether it's necessary or not. We've already pulled it all out now. So we'll go ahead and pull our wick up. We can get enough of it here to get a hold of. There, get that pulled out. That is the wick that we had in there from the eBay seller David 2052. And you can see that is extremely tight on that collar. Okay, so I needed something there to keep the collar in position while I pulled, so I wasn't actually squeezing with the tweezers, just using them to, or not tweezers, pliers, just using them to pull against. Now we still have something. See if I can push this out with this little piece of a toothpick. No, that was just a little bit of fuzz that was still in that collar. So now that we've got all that out, you can see through there. I can get it lined up right in the camera, which it doesn't appear as though I can. There you go. You can see right through there now. So we will put this collar up and over our copper woven Zippo wick. All right, so going to leave ourselves plenty of room there. That wick is going to go all the way down. We can trim this up here in a moment. So then we'll go ahead and press our collar down in there. Now start repacking our wadding. Got a lot of moving parts here going on and everything keeps moving on me. Not the lighter, but the recording equipment that I have set up here on the video set. So we're just going to feed this wadding down in there, trying to go back and forth, not getting too much of it clumped up in the front or the back. And I can probably use a pair of tweezers here a little bit more effectively. And we're not having any problem at all getting this wadding to go down in here. Make sure we get it packed as evenly as possible. And I mentioned during the mechanism disassembly video for this lighter that I'd already promised this lighter to our buddy Jay Sales. So Jay, I definitely did not screw this lighter up in disassembling and reassembling that mechanism so that I could demonstrate how to get that claw spring installed properly. And I wouldn't think that there would be much danger of us screwing things up too bad here by replacing the wick, but we shall see. We will see for sure. So this did break up into a few pieces as we were pulling it out. Looks like at least a half a dozen pieces here or so. But no problem at all getting it out. No problem so far shoving it back in there. I think it is a little bit more important for wicking this particular lighter. Typically you would want to pull that wick out the fuel hole and make sure that it stayed somewhere right there in the vicinity. But that's not necessarily the case with this lighter, because this table model, you fuel it from the top. We really want that wick extending all the way down to the bottom, which it should be pretty close, if not all the way down in the bottom. That was way longer, at least 3 times as long as the distance from here to there. So we should have excess wick down in the bottom of that tank to, or not excess wick, excess wadding in the bottom of that tank to wick that fuel up to the top. Okay. Find a pair of scissors here and cut off basically the wires that were sticking out there. And this is all wanting to get caught up here in the snuffer cup. So let's get some fuel in here. And let's just see whether we can get this lighter to light a little bit more reliably than it was. Definitely missing the hole with some of that. And this lighter will take a little bit more fuel than your common pocket lighter, but not near as much as some table lighters. So go ahead and seal that off. I'm going to wipe the excess fuel off of the outside of the case. This other side, where you've got the wadding and fuel over here. Over here you have space for extra flint. When I got this lighter, there were degraded, dusty old flints that had caused a mess in there. Well, there's 1 out of every 3 again. You know, we do light lighters in pretty quick progression here in these videos sometimes, and I think that sometimes that can work against us. But a lighter should light reliably. 50% of the time is not good enough, even for a semi-automatic mechanism. And as I mentioned a while ago, though, there may be some vapor lock associated with just fueling the lighter. So we will continue to use this lighter around the headquarters. This is the 3rd wick now that we have installed in this lighter. I hope that it will be the last one, but if not, then we will have to take a look at what other options we have available. We've already cleaned up the entire mechanism, disassembled, cleaned it up, put it back together. Got the flywheel really clean and brushed of old degraded flint that might have been caking up the striations in that wheel. Hopefully, after all that we've done, all the mechanical and expendable projects that we have done with this lighter, hopefully it will begin to work more reliably. Until next time.